Hey everybody, I'm Yvonne with Back to Earth Creations, and in this video I want to show you how I made this pendant. Well, I'm actually going to be trying to recreate this pendant. So I've been having a lot of fun experimenting with varying degrees of complexity of combining like a herringbone wrap around these super cute like acrylic eye beads. You could use any bead that you have on hand though, and I'm actually really excited to test it out using some of our homemade lampwork glass beads that we make custom on our website, backtoearthcreations.com. But shameless self-promotion. All the tools and materials that we're using will be listed down in the video description below, and you can find all of our jewelry and beads and things for sale at backtoearthcreations.com. That being said, I really like using these plated alloy frames that I had found on Amazon. Though you could make your own, you could use found objects, any sort of stuff, and just working with the different shapes and just experimenting and having fun. So today we're going to be using a triangle shape, and you can see here they have, let me open this back up, they have available for like very affordable. You can get a mixed pack that has these long rectangles, like short rectangles, the like half squared and half that shape. Let me know what shape that is down in the comments, you guys. I need some help, but I like it. A nice round, a teardrop, an oval, the diamond, which I do really like, and then moons and hearts. And I've been able to find them well, that's on the floor now. I've been able to find these in a variety of different, plate finishes, and all of them I'm pretty pleased with. So let me put these back where they go, except for the one that I threw on the ground that I'll find later. But today I'm just going to be using the triangle shape, and the other tools that we'll be using, we have my standard array of pliers, a variety of flat nose, round nose, bail making, wire snips, like a knitting needle or a stick mandrel like this one, and some bent nose and some nylon jaw. So if you don't have these same tools, that's okay. You can kind of make do with just what you have. If nothing else, I'd recommend these tools. These two are kind of like nice, like little bonusy ones, and you could use a pen or anything else, or just your round nose pliers, but these are the ones that if I for some reason lost all of my tools, these would be the first ones that I reordered. So we have our plated alloy triangle. I'm going to be using 16 gauge plated wire from parawire.com. I use their wire. This isn't sponsored. I just really love their wire because it holds up. All of the jewelry that I have made from them, you can see it's not turned gold on me using the titanium tone. That's my favorite silver tone to use, is the silver plated titanium color. And even though this is copper toned, whenever I wear it, it doesn't turn my skin green because it's their enameled copper core in the antique copper tone. So that being said, if you're looking for something that, it's a little bit more expensive than just buying bare copper, but you don't have to polish it. It's great for folks with metal allergies, and I really do recommend it if you're new to wire wrapping and you want a wire that's going to be working with you instead of against you. The way that, sometimes some craft wires will have a lot of spring back, or the enameling will chip and flake off, or, just they'll be too soft. So if you're just starting out, I do recommend this stuff. So I'm going to start by, we're just going to jump in because I made this in yesterday's live stream, which was a blast. Thank you to everybody who came and hung out with us. But I have no idea what steps I went through. So I'm going to try to recreate it. And the thing I'm most excited about probably is making this herringbone bail. We're going to try to make some variations of that today as well. So I'm going to take another one of these 10mm beads. This one just happens to be eyeball themed. And I'm going to use just a little bit of my scrap wire because all I need is, well, it's going to need to be a little bit longer than that. Okay, so maybe I'll just cut off a fresh piece. But we'll want a piece of the 16 gauge wire that is long enough to fit whatever piece we're fitting to. I want to extend an inch past each end. And this is going to give us enough wire to do what we need to do with. And then I have about 10 inches, 9 to 10 inches of the 16 gauge that we'll be making the frame out of. So now to do our wrap, I'm going to use the herringbone wrap. I'm going to use this 20 gauge. And you could swap out, like if you don't have 16 gauge, you could also use an 18 gauge. Would work out pretty well. If you don't have the 20 gauge, you could use an 18 or a 22 gauge. You know, these are just the starting point, and it's just what I'm using. So do feel free to experiment, because you never know till you try. I've been wire wrapping professionally since 2008, and there's still stuff that I'll think, oh, that won't work. And I'm like, you know, let's just try it. And lo and behold, it's usually some sort of breakthrough. So the best thing we can do is to challenge our, you know, getting settled into the rut of thinking we know what's going to work and what's not going to work. So here I've made a loop on the tip of my pliers, threaded it onto, I want it to be large enough that we can accommodate our wire. And then I've shaped it around the side of our bead and making sure to stay on the same side of the wire. So how this one is exiting on the top of the wire and this one's coming around. And what I mean by that is like this right here, that's on top of the wire. Whereas this is below. Do you see how it went from being on top to being below? And that's not what we want right now, because it's not going to make that pretty pattern for us if we do that. And I try to, you know, you can use your fingernails or a tool or like some pliers to like try to smush that down as close as we can to the bead, just because I think it makes it look real tidy. And then I'm not really paying attention to how the bead is oriented right now, because you can see it moves pretty freely. But we're going to add on a second layer coming around. And then we're going to add in a second layer on the other side. And I just love that, you guys. And now let's go ahead and do, how many did I do on the OG? We did 3. Okay. 2, 3. And then 1, 2, 3 on this side. And I'm going to wrap that wire all the way around our core wire. And then I'm going to give it a snip just right below this line here, because I want to get a nice tidy end here. And so we've snipped it, but I want to tuck that end there behind the other wire. So I'm actually just coming down from above. Oh, that didn't quite work, did it? Well, maybe we can just pinch our wire. So there we go. Sometimes it takes some creative smushing, but we'll get it. And I try to be careful to not mar up my wire, but because especially with the para wire, if that happens, then it's kind of tricky to get it to, you can't just sand it down. I am going to snip that at an angle now. That way, sorry, I don't mean to wander out of frame. I just want to get that. Well, I thought it would help. Really is why I did it, but it doesn't seem to have. There we go. Ah, excellent. So I was able to bend it down just a little, and now we can't see that loose end. And I think that does a really good job of kind of adding to the illusion of where did the wire begin? Where did it end? What is going on here? And that's just the magic of the herringbone. And now from here, y'all, you could take this and just bend it and make a loop on either end. You know, we have quite a few other tutorials here on the channel showing different things that you can do with the herringbone, but it's a very versatile design that can be utilized for finger rings, bracelets, earrings, necklaces, and today's pendant. So now we're going to come here, and I'm going to do a right angle bend. I'm going to come up a little bit because you'll notice you may be able to slide your bead up and down on your core wire. So I'm going to come in about 20 millimeters from the end, and I'm going to do that right angle. And I'm going to try to keep everything nice and squared up. And then I'm going to insert this wire through here. And then I'm going to take, we could bend with our hands, but it will tend to do a kind of soft, rounded bend. I'll bend it and then I'll show you the contrast between the two. So I'm just going to line up my pliers and bend down. There we go. Because what we might have been able to do here I don't know. Let's see. We might have been able to use our narrow tipped flat nose pliers and bend and really gotten that like kind of nice and sharp folds. And then I'm going to open it up just a little more. And we can insert through like this and then just tuck it around. But yeah, so that way that's kind of squared off to the top of our piece. And from here, I'm going to snip. This is about 1/8 of an inch wide. So I'm going to snip about 1/8 of an inch past right here. So like I want from here down to be, because that's what we're going to be folding under. So I'm just folding it under. Ooh, and it's actually a little long, but that's okay because we can always trim it down a little more. And whenever we do that, I'm just going to come in. And if it doesn't cut through all the way, because sometimes it's hard to fit into those areas, we can still come in there and just kind of wrench it off. Nice little wire crumbs. But now we can use our pliers to grasp that tip and bend it again to where it's in line, where it's kind of hidden behind this wire. So when we're looking at it, there's not like an end poking out. Now we can scooch that up just a little. And now I'm going to do our next shape, like our next bending sequence. So I'm going to come in here with our pliers, and I'm coming down just a little because this part I want to be able to bend to where it tucks behind our frame. So I don't want it to be, if I had bent it too close to our bead, there'd be a large gap there. If I bent it too far away from the bead, we wouldn't be able to fit it in. And so this will be the sort of the thing that just trial and error is going to really help. But I line up with where I think I want it to be, and then I come in like just a scooch. And now we're gonna bend that down nice and crisp. Oop. Except for the way that we bent that, now it's having a hard time. Uh-oh. That's okay, we'll just bend it a little more. Ah, there we are. And then, let's see, we can press that down and in. Oh, that is so cool. That makes me so happy. The way that that just fits. Because I do want to make sure that everything's still going to stay nice and centered for me. And then from here, I'm going to grab this and we can kind of straighten it out. There's somebody that I watch on the TikTok who has like all of these custom made pliers and like cool like tubes they put on things and like bend. And so I'm really inspired by their work, but none of us exist in a creative vacuum, and it's so wonderful to feel inspired. So now from here, I want to make, so we've bent that, so there's just a nice little zigzag there. And now I want to make this loop on the end. So to do that, we could use our stick mandrel, but I'm going to use we could even use our round nose pliers, but I'm going to use my mandrel pliers because I love them. And I'm going to come out just a little far because I want there to be room for the wire to come around. And I'm just going to shape it in this way. And then we can round it in just a little bit more. And I'm going to go ahead and snip and I'm going to close this. Oh yes, look at that, y'all. Oh my gosh, we did it. That's so great. That never gets old when it actually works. So my concern here on the initial design is that it was going to like pop out. It feels quite like sturdy, but I don't trust it. So we're still going to be using some scrap wire to join that in and bind it together. So you could use anything that you have. I've got, this feels like, is this 26 gauge? This is either 26 or 28 gauge. I actually have a handy little tool for this that I've lost. That's like a little gauge plate. Let me see. Because it got sent to us in one of the Potomac bead boxes, actually the very last one that I had gotten. And it has to be just the handiest little tool. But I haven't tried the 26 gauge yet. You know, I think this is actually 28 gauge because it fits into there super easy. So let's try this one. No, that's way too thick. Yeah, there's just some 26 gauge. That's fine. Or 28 gauge rather. I don't believe in I don't want to say that I don't believe in scrap wire because I mean obviously it's real, but if there's a crafter, there is a way. And like I always have some mess of wire on my desk for me to pull from, which is my scrap pile. Because if I put it into a scrap bin, it'll kind of get at it. It's just hoarded, out of sight, out of mind. So I've threaded through our loop, and then I bring this around. Though once a week I do clear off my work surface, or try to, because otherwise it gets out of hand. We've gone through that loop because we want to hold all this together, right? And then I'm coming around on the front side, and I'm going to wrap 5 times around the side here. So there's one wrap. Then if your wire is very short and hard for your hands, go ahead and use your pliers. So there's 2, 3. It's like we're hand sewing, and the wire is both the needle and the thread. 4 and 5. Now before I trim it, I want to get the other side wrapped because sometimes things shift or need tucked or tidied, or we can always trim it off later. And so now again, coming around the front, feeding through right there. And this should give us, even though it's 126 or 128 gauge wire, it's going to give us some stability that this shouldn't get pushed off towards the back, you know, even through the stress of being worn. And so now we're going to sew through. There's 1 loop. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Already super duper digging it. And then I'm going to bring them up on each side, and I'm going to snip it. You'll see that there's like a seam from where it was cast because the sides aren't perfectly flat. I want to trim this right before that seam because my hope is that this will be pinned between our outer frame wire and the frame itself. And that way we don't have to worry about any little pokey bits. And I'm thinking this might be a good place to hide our loose end. There we go. Just burnishing that down with our pliers. We can trim that one just a smidge shorter because the point of doing it behind the center line is like this side isn't as visible. You know what? I'm not going to get hung up on it. It's fine. So there is that. And now we're going to use our 16 gauge wire for the frame. And I'm going to come rough about to the center, and we're going to bend. I'm starting with 90 degrees, and then I change sides, and I'm going to bend in a little more. And then I change sides, and I'm going to bend in a little more. I think this makes me feel like it's keeping me from bending too much and having it be distorted one way or the other. But now we've slid it through the loop there on the tip, and I'm going to remove it again because that was just a test fitting. I'm reinserting my pliers, and we're going to give that just a little bit more of a bend because I do want this to be very, very tight against our frame. Oh yeah, looking good. Oh, something we could have done, y'all, is you don't have to have snipped it there. You could have like done some coiling and then come up. That would have looked really cool. I'm going to be doing a whole bunch, like, I'm in a mood. So I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of this style, just exploring the different variations. And honestly, I'm just going to follow my passions until something else calls me that way. And so now I'm going to come in here, and I'm lining up my pliers so that whenever I bend it, they still fit in between the frame, the alloy frame, and the wire edge. But then I want to try to square that up just a little bit more. You know, just trying to keep it kind of tidy. It's not going to be super crispy, but that's okay. And so I want to grab like right there, and then we're just going to bend that down. Eee! Oh, I love it. And again, anytime I do a bend like that, I do like to come in and tighten up that corner just to make sure it's nice and just as sharp as we can get it. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I do want to do my best. And then we can actually release the frame out and just let it dangle. And now I'm going to bend it just a little tighter. And then we can swing that back around. And see how our bends fit. Pretty well, I think. So now the next stage of this is to do the bend towards the back. We have our wire positioned around the frame. I'm going to do this side first just because it's already towards the back some. But I want to position my pliers just where it's very, very close to the loop that's already on the frame. And then I'm removing the frame, keeping the pliers in position, but just deepening where they're holding. That way they don't slide off. Because I was doing this yesterday in our live stream, and man, my pliers slipped, and I was in a world of pain. I'm dramatic. I was fine, but it hurts, and my thumb still hurts. So if I can avoid that, I'm gonna. So now I'm gonna bring that around, line it up, deepen how the pliers are positioned. Because if I do it too close to the tip, then my pliers might slip off, and that's what had happened. Okay, let's see. Uh-oh, so it looks like I did not give myself enough space. That's okay. This parawire is very resilient, so I'm just going to straighten it back out. I'm going to come in just a smidge, and then I'm going to bend it again. And this is perfectly fine. I'd always rather need to straighten it back out and bend it shorter than to do it too short, because then this wire will look marred up, which can be very easily covered with just some strategic coiling. So it's never the end of the world when something goes awry on a project. It's just an opportunity for some more creative problem solving. And now we're going to bend that in that way. If we do this too much, it's going to make a brittle spot in our wire, and our wire could break. But, you know, don't live in fear of the wire breaking. Sometimes that just happens, and that's okay. Well, it's tighter on one side than on the other. Boo. Okay, so I've got to do it one more time on this side. If our wire breaks, then it breaks. And so be it. Okay, so I'm coming in, just a smidge more again. Wish me luck. Yeah, and already that does look like it's too short on that side, but let's try it. Oh my god, it's so much shorter. That's terrible. Well, let's see how far we can push our... You know, I think I'm going to make this side shorter, and that'll give us... I'm just going to roll with it. So I'm going to come in just a little more. You know, it would be easier if I just went like this and used the nose of my pliers to be my guide, because then it's going to be the same size, my plier width wide on each side, and that should help us with at least like pretending like it's symmetrical. And then from here, again, letting that part of our pendant just fall away. And I'm going to be using the smallest, this is like the 3mm mandrel on our round nose pliers. And I'm just going to hold this a little offset from the side. Do you see how that wire is positioned? So I'm not all the way out here and I'm not like on it. I'm just right parallel to that. And I'm going to bend this on around so that it'll fit through the inside of our pendant. And I'm just going to position it. We're just getting that shape. And then I'm going to come around and do the same thing on this side, getting my pliers positioned parallel, curving that just a little. Whoop. And getting this shaped, because what we're doing here, and let me go ahead and snip these. There's 1 and 2. I'm still going to need to trim them shorter, but this is going to give me the space to let me swing this up and around, fit those through right there. And then we just settle this back into our new frame. And from here, we can use our pliers to grasp that 18 gauge and just shape it around. So we can even pull and wiggle. And that's gonna... I mean, that's pretty cool. It's on the other one, I wrapped it around back on itself, and that might have been the better thing to do, but I don't know. And we learn by doing. So I'm going to hold right there. No, I'm not. And now I'm going to bend this around because we can always smush that back down. Too far. There we go. So do you see how that kind of just stacked together? And now that we've shaped it, I can smush that down flat. Oh, I really dig it. I dig it a bunch. I'm just tweaking it a little to try to get it to look nice and symmetrical. Again, not going to let myself be stressed out if it is not perfectly symmetrical. Oftentimes, I mean, that's the back side of it anyways. Oftentimes whenever I'm looking at something, no, it's not. It just had the eye turned around. Okay. I'll get caught up on some obscure, tiny flaw that our customers, our clients, our friends and fans don't even notice, or they see it and they're like, oh, I love that. I love how it looks organic or natural. And I'm like, it looks like a mess, but I'm glad you like it. And so, sometimes you just got to let it be. So from here, we're going to do the same thing as we had done before, just holding the pliers, but I'm just stacking it where it will fit. And I'm going to bring this around. We're going to bypass through the center of our pendant and bending that up. And I do want to keep that, it's going to kind of stack towards the back. Do you see how we made some loops? That way our bail, we could attach this ring and then we can attach our bail to it. And I just really liked that shape. And so we're going to position it and we're going to press that wire through to the front And then we're going to leverage that, stacking towards the center this time. And just keeping our pliers there helps maintain the size of that loop. So anytime that I'm going to be fooling about with that wire, I go ahead and put my pliers in the loop, just to hold their shape while I'm tugging and pressing and pinching with my pliers. There we go. And now from here, I'm going to snip this one so that it's the same length as the shorter side. And I'm going to take that and I'm just going to use my bent nose pliers to press it carefully. Oh, it really doesn't want to, does it? But we can. If there's a crafter, there's a way. I just want to press that wire in just a smidge. So just bending that tip down. Maybe I should have left it longer because I feel like I'm struggling, but that's okay. Sometimes a little bit of a struggle is kind of nice. Okay, so again, whoop. I don't mean to keep pushing that off to the side. It's just the way my pliers keep slipping. There we go. So now we have those two loops there. But you'll see I angled them so that they would fit onto a ring better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my flat nose pliers and I'm going to turn like it's a key to angle those. Oh man, that opened it up a little bit. I don't know if I like that. Well, if we don't like it, we can press it on the table and see if it helps. It is not the end of the world. It will be fine. And as with most things, in most cases, this is just one of many ways to do this style of pendant. So now I'm going to take this nickel silver. It's a little larger than a 16 gauge 5/16, because that's what I used on that one, but I'm not certain of what the size is for it. But a 16 gauge 5/16 inch works perfectly. Or you can just use what you have or make your own jump ring out of some more wire. But I'm just going to open it up and then I'm going to hook it through those two loops on the back that we've made. And then I'm going to close it. There we are. And I like to use saw cut rings if I can, because that way whenever we butt them, the closure is pretty nice. Like, I mean, it's just butted. It's not riveted or welded or anything, but it's pretty nice. And then I just rotate it around to where you wouldn't even see it anyhow. But now we get to attach, like, you could attach this directly to a necklace with some more jump rings or something. But let us make this cool veil. I'm going to be using more of our 16 gauge as well as these lolly beads, which are, I'm pretty sure, plated iron or plated alloy, but I like them. You could use whatever beads that you have. I'm going to be using the 3mm size. And on this bail here, I used the 20 gauge wire, and I used a 3mm and then 3 4mm and then a 3mm. And we'll be doing this on a 16 gauge core, which, let us see. Yeah, I'll just cut off a fresh piece. I had to check the scrap pile first. So let's give ourselves about 3 or 4 inches of our 16 gauge wire. And I'm going to try with just one bead, because this first one I had strung up all the beads on it and then made it like a peas in a pod herringbone wrap. I want to see how it looks whenever we do like a whole bunch or something. I want to experiment. And so again, same herringbone as before, exactly the same. I'm just starting at the tip of our wire, making a wee bitty loop, but not so wee bitty that it can't accommodate our core wire. And then I'm going to thread that on. And then from here, it's almost like a personal challenge. What is the smallest bead I can do a herringbone on? And now from here, I'm actually going to use my bent nose pliers to squeeze that down so that it is snug up against our bead. And then I'm just going to shape. And so here's our first layer. So there's our layer 1, shaping around. And then here is our layer 2, shaping around. And then our layer 2 on the other side. And then I'm coming around. Now normally I try to build like kind of behind the other layers, but this is just how this one's panning out, so we're gonna keep it off to the side. So there's 1, 2, and 3 layers. You know, it'd look really cool. Let's try coiling for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I'm going to snip to where it's like towards the back. If y'all are interested, I'm going to do a whole separate tutorial going over just a bunch of different variations of this veil. And now I'm going to keep a little bit of tail wire just so I have something to hold on to, but we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I'm going to snip there. And then I'm going to snip there. And we're just going to push that up. So see how that looks? And then I liked using the stick mandrel for this part on this veil. It's not really bending this time, oh no. Alright, well this one doesn't seem to be working so well. I'm going to remove that little bit that we did. Though I mean, this is looking pretty cool. Maybe this will work as a veil. So what I'm going to do here to modify this one, I'll show you this one in this video too. I thought that this would be a cool variation, and it might be, but I don't want to leave y'all hanging and make you hunt down a 2-part video or something, you know? Like, I so appreciate y'all spending any of your time here at all. I don't want to make it a wild goose chase. So I've brought it around and snipped it. Now I want this to be a little bit more centered, so I'm just going to grab it and I'm going to do like a turnkey move with my hand to bend that to where it's more center line. I mean, it's not pretty and it's not perfect. I mean, it's pretty. It's just pretty wobbly. But that's okay. And now from here, we can, I'm going to bend that forward just a little. And then I'm going to give it a snip. And with this 16 gauge wire, y'all, it is perfectly thick enough to do just a single, just a single thickness for the veil. And we're going to bring that around. You'll want to make the length of that loop, if you wanted a very big, like you just need it to be able to accommodate your ring that you've added there. And then we can open that up. And we can hook it through our ring. You know, that'd look really cool if we did one off in each, like one on each side. So like And we could put either of these ends. We could open up the ring and put it through this closed end. Like, if you could imagine with me for a moment that there's a going off in each direction, like mirror mode. That is certainly one way of doing it. Whoops, let's try it another way. So, same thing, kind of. We're gonna snip the same 4 inches. But this time we're gonna use 2 of the 3mm and 3 of the 4mm. So there's, and I love these lolly beads because they can accommodate a 16 gauge wire. 1, 2, 3. But if your beads won't accommodate such a thick wire, you could totally just use, 18 gauge as well for the core. So there we have our beads. And now, same thing with that 20 gauge wire. We're going to make our little loop. And I'm going to go ahead and give it a little bit of a bend just on my round nose pliers. That way, we're already kind of going. We're going to thread our core wire on. Now I do really want that wire nice and tidy from the beginning because it's just going to get messier from here is my fear typically. So it's try to keep it as tidy as I can, just with hope in my heart. So we've wrapped around all of them. And this is what I mean by like peas in a pod. Can you imagine if we were doing this with like a green wire or something, or, with like a little leaf charm? And then like that, coming around like that, coming around like that. And I'm just going to do 3 repetitions, just because that's what I did on the last one. And I am going to give ourselves just 1 extra wrap, just to have it, because we're going to be bending it, it might pull on the wire a little, and I like to have that extra wrap for on a bail. And then we snip, give it a little bit of a smush. There we are. And now we should be able to bend it over our stick mandrel without like a whole lot of problems. Oh yeah. Oh, I love it when it works. And so there you can see we're just bending around. And there's our bail. But what we're going to do now at this point is I'm going to take my mandrel pliers and I'm going to insert them, and I want to bend this wire around on this side, and I'm making a full loop around. And then I'm going to swap sides, like just flip my work on my pliers, and then do that full loop around. Then I'm going to wiggle my pliers out of place, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to give it a snip there. Again, so we can do that kind of closed off loop. And then I'm going to do a snip there. And then I'm going to take my pliers and kind of bring it in that way. And then I'm going to take my pliers and bring it in that way. And I just want to make sure that our loops are lined up with each other. So I do that by like kind of over bending them. And now from here, it's just easier for me to open up the ring. and then pick which side of the bail we want to be the front. Just whichever we like better. Close our jump ring as best as we can. Oh yeah. So that is how we make this pendant. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I look forward to hearing from y'all. You can feel free to sign up for our free newsletter at backtooearthcreations.com. We send out an email every time we have a new shop update, live stream, or new tutorial. And at the time of recording, you can always check our website for our up-to-date schedule, but at the current time of recording, we live stream every Monday, Tuesday, and Friday, and we have new tutorials every Thursday. So hopefully we will see y'all there. And until next time, you guys. Oh yeah, we do like a kit every month where you can craft along with us. And so yeah, more info about that will be down below. But I look forward to seeing y'all next time. And until then, happy crafting. Mwah! Bye.